Hey everyone, John Vance here with some exciting news that you definitely don't want to miss. You know how we're always looking for ways to improve, whether it's mastering incident command or leveling up as fire officers. Well, B Shifter has teamed up with Waldorf University to offer you a unique opportunity to advance your career in fire science administration. This new partnership means you can now transfer your Blue Card certifications toward earning a degree from Waldorf University. That's right, your training with Blue Card can fast track you to a bachelor's degree in fire science, with Waldorf offering up to 75% of transferable credits. Whether you're looking to take on a leadership role, build your skills, or move up the ranks, this partnership can help make that happen. And here's the kicker. Blue Card students, staff, and their families get a 10% tuition discount, and the application fee is completely waived. Waldorf University is known for its flexible online programs, so you can keep serving your community while you study on your terms. So what are you waiting for? Head over to waldorf.edu/bluecard today, send in that free application, and take your next step in advancing your fire service career. We'll see you at the top, B Shifters. Welcome, everyone, to the B Shifter podcast. John Vance, Nick Brunacini, Josh Blum, live via Zoom here with us today. How are you guys doing?
Muy bien.
How are you doing, Josh?
I'm doing good. Winter kind of set in this week, but
what kind of temperatures do you have in Cincinnati?
We had frost every morning this week, but it looks like it's going back to like 75 this weekend. So 75 in the morning or in the afternoons, and 40s and 50s, and then we've got like 6 more days of that, and then it looks like it's going to turn to more winter-like weather. But
how did you recover from the conference? I think this is the first time we've had you on the podcast since the conference happened. What's your wrap-up of that for us?
I'm still catching up. Yeah, a week of not returning phone calls and emails adds up to a few weeks of catch up. So, but it's all good. I mean, so the workshops, a lot of organizations are reaching out and they want workshops based off of what they connected with, 1 or 2 people connected with at the conference. So the Mayday workshop, the Big Box workshop, Chris Stewart's critical thinking, decision-making workshop, the size up fire extinguishment tactics, 2-day training and fire prop. I mean, so all of that. And then, this time of year is always jumping off anyway because of people who are on the January to December budget are trying to spend and close out their year. And then those that are on that same cycle are looking at what they're going to do next year. So it's all good. And, we'll be back in Sharonville next year for the conference. We're going to add a few other workshops on the front end and keep growing the B Shifter gathering. So,
and I think all the instructors were awesome. I know the participants had a great time. So, thank you for all your hard work to get that done.
We're all in it together.
Labor of love, baby.
Yeah. So we get questions, and there's a new way to submit questions. If you'd like to submit a question, you can do it through fan mail on Buzzsprout. So Buzzsprout's our provider for our podcast. So if you're watching or listening to our podcast, there's a couple of different ways you can click on fan mail, and that gives us these questions directly. Now, when you send us a question, we are not able to respond to you unless you give us your contact information. So sometimes we are getting questions that maybe are best answered one-on-one, but we have no way other than the podcast of getting in touch with you. So you can leave your contact information if you want us to directly respond to you. But this case, this is a great question, and we wanted to bring it up on fan mail. So thanks for submitting it for the podcast today. And it's a really good Blue Card question. And it says, can you guys do a podcast episode where you speak to no news is good news? My department has taken to such an extreme, they do not want us announcing when a primary is complete or when the fire is knocked down or we have fire control until the IC asks for a can report. I feel like good news is good news and needs announced. Bad news is bad news and needs announced. No news is good news means that the radio is quiet. That's okay, but it also means people are working. But is this taken to an extreme so far? Can you guys elaborate and give examples, please? I would like to forward the episode to my battalion chiefs and counterparts in administration. Thank you, guys. So it sounds like they're getting criticized for any news that could be conceived as good news.
Yeah, so we get this quite a bit, right? So, I mean, even in classroom settings, people, ask that question of what do you say and what don't you say? So Blue Card has always had a place for all of the other fireground traffic that just is going to happen. So, a challenge, I think, with some of the people who take the approach of, we don't want you, they go to an extreme. Oftentimes, I think it's people who aren't necessarily operating in the field, and they're acting like the professor instead of really considering operational in the field. What are we really doing, and does that communications mean something? So I think that's what a lot of it comes down to is what are we going to do with that piece of radio traffic, and is it going to make a difference? So when you look at Blue Card, Command Function 5, and within the system of communications, priority traffic obviously is priority traffic of, there's going to be some kind of need connected to it, usually a red flag, something negative, potentially, need additional support and so on. And then really we use status change for a whole bunch of the other pieces. So people look at status change like I'm just changing location, but status change in the system and in the SOG that we'll share after this podcast that we've had out for, 18 months or so. If you've completed an objective. So, we could talk about it for days, but one example is if you give somebody a task location and objective for an assignment. An example, a super simple example, I give truck 4 an assignment to control utilities. Well, I expect them to let me know when they've controlled utilities. They got an assignment, they've controlled utilities, and then depending on where they were operating, they're going to be ready for a reassignment, or if they were in some sort of hazard area, they might need to recycle. But we want to know when objectives are being completed because that's what drives our incident action plan. So the priority traffic piece of this isn't going good and we need to support that. And then the status change, or as some people are maybe putting it into the column of good news reporting, which really it is good news, but it's not like good news reporting, don't say that, also drives our incident action plan, but in a good way. So, a company gives us information that they were assigned primary search and fire control, and they get into the house and the stove's on fire and they put it out. Well, we expect that transmission because our incident action plan is going to start to de-escalate instead of escalate. So we can talk about this, and we'll I'm sure we'll throw it back and forth. And I think we got some audio that we can listen to that's got status changes and some even some transmissions on it of just putting out over the radio so everybody hears some information, which we hear that all the time. Nick has talked about that before in the past, I think, of making an announcement just because you wanted everybody on the fire ground to know, something, whether it was a hazard somewhere or whatever it is. So that's kind of my, jump off point for the good news reporting. If we're going to talk about good news reporting, we got to talk about all of the reporting, really.
There are also some benchmarks that departments would like to monitor as well, because I know there's some performance measures that either people have in for accreditation or just trying to show how efficient the department is. things like water on the fire. That's a status change as well, correct?
Really, it is a status change. You were given an assignment for, fire control primary search. Granted, you don't have fire control, but you're getting water on the fire. And, sometimes with Blue Card, I think people get wrapped around a house fire. And, with a house fire, I can probably see what's going on. And maybe I don't need you to tell me that you have water on the fire. But, within an organization, that's one of the things that they can, train on and say, hey, when you have water on the fire, we want you to say that. One part of it is the objective and benchmarking piece of how long is it taking us to get water on the fire. And it's a reporting thing. So not that we should hang our hat on because a reporting program, NIFRS or whatever, says that we should be tracking water on the fire, or maybe even accreditation saying, how long is it taking you to get water on the fire from the time you arrive at a house fire? It's valuable. We've all been at those fires where a company says we're getting water on the fire, and you're looking at it and it's like, I don't think you are. So they say they're doing one thing, but it looks different. So it's not like it's a big, long, transmission. And there's value in saying that we see the fire and we're getting water on the fire. No different than a crew that's doing a search saying that they were assigned to search the first floor of a 2-story house. They've completed a search on the first floor. It's all clear. And they're going to change location, which is a status change, to complete a search on the second floor. So people get wrapped around that's good news, but really it's a status change. And we do that for the purpose of that company that's going to the second floor now says, Mayday, 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 we've fallen through the floor. Well, if they didn't tell us they went to the second floor, we think they're in the basement. So we really need to look at the reason why we're getting on the radio, and how does that drive our incident action plan, and how does it affect and impact, accountability, and then the bigger picture of what we went there for. Put the fire out and make sure that if there's anybody there that's in a survivable space, that we remove them. So, the primary search and fire control piece.
When no good news reporting came up, that was a revision to do Blue Card a few years back. What was the original intention of that? Why did we go to no good news reporting?
Well, some of it was because of what we don't want to hear is, every step of the way. They don't need to leave a bread trail, of where they are and exactly what they're doing. We're not there to micromanage them, but we do want to address benchmarks. So it comes down to I want to talk on the radio and want to say something. And if we're going to key the radio and talk, there should be a reason behind it. And, like I'd already said, the good news of addressing objectives that are complete is a big deal as far as driving our incident action plan, that maybe we're going to start to, de-escalate, and it impacts our forecasting of the event. And then the priority traffic, the other side of it, is this thing's going to continue to escalate. So that's really where the no good news reporting, piece came out. But if you really just think about it, you want your communication to have status change or priority traffic, or on the scene with an initial radio report, or command with a follow-up report, a front-end piece for all of those different transmissions, it really does away with the good news reporting that people are talking about.
As we continued, like, the evolution of all the systems we use within the hazard zone Blue Card piece of it. So, like, accountability got added in the late 80s, early 90s. So that changed radio reporting a lot. And then with the advent of doing like real-time accountability, you had all these PARs coming in. So we overparred it in the beginning because that's just kind of the way we were trying to figure out, okay, how do we actually manage accountability for personnel? Well, we figured out we didn't need 27 PARs during one work cycle. And then I'm on air, and now I'm PAR'd, and now I'm putting water on the fire. So there was just too much gibberish that had nothing to do with the incident action plan. And like Josh said earlier, it was mostly to blow stress off and let people know this is what we're doing now. Well, because we all kind of came from the same place, we know what you're doing. That's what the order was, the task, location, and objective. And it goes both ways. See, and if strategically, if the IC will give periodic updates when milestones are met. So if I'm ordering people in to get fire control in whatever shape building it is once they start to achieve fire control, as the IC, is I can start to say things that are going to help steer the incident action plan in the correct way. Say, hey, you're making good progress on the fire. You're getting good knockdown from the outside position, yada, yada, yada. And what that does is when the IC does that, is that will help to eliminate unnecessary task level transmissions back to you because everybody's on the same page now. And so you're doing these periodic updates, and really strategically, you're letting them know what you're doing is working. And the opposite is true. So if I'm the IC and I send people in to do fire control and it's been 2 or 3 minutes and it's getting worse and not better, that's the reason we don't do good news reporting in the front end of this, or just to talk on the radio to talk. So I've got clear radio space that I can call the interior crews and say, what are you doing in there? It's looking worse from out here. Well, we're ... Well, get the ceilings opened up and put water in the attic right now. So then in the after action review, that's where we start to discuss, no. When you come in here, we knew where the fire was, and you quit screwing around. Well, I was searching in here and doing this. I sent you in to do fire control. You should be doing fire control. So a lot of this is it's just agreeing on things ahead of the fire in the sequence we're going to do things. So training eliminates radio traffic because we know what to expect from each other. So that's kind of how you hook all this stuff together to keep the thing. But anytime you reach a milestone, you're a task level crew that was given an assignment, as you guys have already said. If it affects the incident action plan in a way that you're going to switch it either up or down or across or whatever it is, that's what we need to be sharing over the tactical channel, is because that impacts everybody on the scene. So that's why we keep it clear. And there's a lot of times that, that can be uncomfortable, especially once you got the thing set up and now it's going to be a while you're operating, whether it's offensive, defensive, whatever it is. But I've been in places where, like, for 5 minutes, nobody said anything on the radio, which is really a long time. And then people start to get nervous. Well, that's where those periodic updates from the IC come in very good. And then you've got a clock on that you're keeping track of time. So if you haven't heard from crews that were in positions for 6, 7, 8 minutes, it's like, no, where are you now? Because you're running low on air. And so I need to know how to make the next switch. Do I need to replace you as a crew, or is it your work done inside? So that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. And then that's where the PAR really comes in, is the PAR. We assume you have a PAR before you go in, and then you have to actually report a PAR when you come out. So you have to verify, okay, I got everybody I went in with and we're good. And then that's a check off and boom. So
just real quick. So that, like, some of those things that we say on the fire ground that are just not going to go away, that people, I think, try to fix or do away with, but we really can, is, engine 4 operator charged the red hand line. Well, it's just a transmission. It's part of the work we do. That's why we have radios, so that it's not face to face anymore or hand signals, right? It's some of that work that needs to happen will be communicated. So communicate over the radio so that we can do the work that we went there to do. So we hear that sometimes, like, well, how do I talk on the radio? Because people take it to an extreme, right? So how do I do work if I don't say these things? Charge the hydrant. Truck 7, we're ready. To engine 4, you're pumping our supply. We're ready for that water. All of those things that affect the work that we're doing. So, just like Nick said, if it has a impact on the incident action plan, good or bad, we should communicate it. And the key is, back to the training piece of how do you say it on the radio? You don't need to have a whole dissertation. A few words mean a lot, which just comes back to the system that we have of a couple of words mean a lot of things. So like fire control means several things in our system, like, 2 sentences worth of stuff, but I just can say fire control. So, yeah, I think we can move on to the radio traffic and hear, a bunch of different types of transmissions throughout this that we can talk about.
Looks like the house is going to be located in a cul-de-sac. We do have a hydrant in the cul-de-sac. First two should have their own water supply. Battalion 5 radio, upgrade responding units.
Battalion 5, upgrade responding units.
Right, yeah. Truck 13's on scene. Looks like we got a 2-story on a basement. We got smoke showing from the attic. 13 we'll have command. Engine 13, you'll be fire attack. We're going to be in the offensive strategy on the alpha side.
Clear, on scene, 2-story on the basement, smoke from the attic, engine 13, fire attack.
Battalion 5 radio, balance the alarm.
Clear to balance the alarm.
Engine 18 is on single 4. Command, engine 18. 18, command, go ahead. Yeah, assist 13 with water supply. Engine 13, stretching fire attack line to the alpha side door. Alpha side door. 18 clear, assisting 13 with water supply. Attack bumper and fire attack. Are you ready for water? Charge it. Engine 24 is on the scene with 3. Rescue 24 is level 1 with 2. Command all units, command all units. Okay, walk around complete. Fire appears it's on the first floor. We got a fire attack line entering on the alpha side. We got reports of a person possibly trapped. We're all in rescue at the time. Radio Battalion 5 on the scene. Battalion 5 command. Go ahead. Okay, just a quick rundown. Engine 13 is doing fire attack, entering the alpha side with 1 hand line. Truck 13 is all in search and rescue. Engine 18 performing water supply. If that's correct, give me a can report. That's affirmative. We got neutral plane halfway down on the front door. Fire attack searching for the fire right now. Truck 13 all in rescue. I'm clear. Take it from here. Break. Battalion 5 to radio. I'll be assuming Old Hickory Command. We're manning the offensive strategy. We've got 1 line in operation. Primary search is underway. Command to Rescue 24. Rescue 24, go ahead. Rescue 24, send medical group alpha side. Be prepared to receive a victim. Command to Engine 24. Engine 24, go ahead. Take alpha side. Engine 23 command. Stage 1. 3. Engine 24 to command. Can you repeat that assignment? Deck, alpha side. Engine 24 is clear, alpha side. Attack bumper to command. We have permanent water. Command's clear, you have permanent water. 18 to command. We're finished with establishing water supply. We're ready for assignment. Okay, let's go ahead and stretch a second cross lay off of engine 13 as a backup line. Let's have it at the alpha side ready to go. 18 clear. Second line. Command to engine 13, can report.
Engine 13, we're inside the alpha side door. We're attempting to locate the fire on the first floor. We have our line, but it's a little short. You got a second line coming to the front door?
Yeah, that's affirmative. We're stretching a second line now. We'll go ahead and extend it if we need to. Just let us know.
Commander radio. Engine 23 is level 1.
23, you're level 1.
Battalion 4, level 1.
Truck 13 with priority traffic.
Commander Truck 13, go ahead with your priority traffic.
And we got low visibility, smoke's all the way to the floor on the first floor. I need somebody to force the door on the Charlie side basement, check the basement. On the walk around, there was no smoke.
Okay, I'm clear. Agent 24, that's going to be you. Report to the Charlie side, force the door, check the basement for extension.
Engine 24 is clear. Charlie side, force the door, check the basement.
Command all units. Battalion 4 is going to be assuming Alpha Division. He will have Engine 13, Truck 13, and Engine 18 working for him.
Engine 13 to command with priority traffic.
Engine 13, go ahead.
Fire has been located on the Bravo side near the Bravo Charlie corner. If there's another door on that side, or you could enter in the garage, we could pincer it.
Okay, I'm clear. I've assigned Alpha Division. He's working on that now. Command to Engine 23.
18 to command. Do you want us to relocate our line to the Bravo side?
You're working for Alpha Division. Coordinate with him. Let's find out where the seat of the fire is. Let's move your line to that location. Work with Alpha Division.
Engine 23, go ahead.
Take Alpha side.
Alpha Division, command.
Alpha, go ahead.
Okay, I'm positioning Engine 18, Bravo Charlie corner. I've been face to face with truck 13. Engine 13 is stretched short, so we're repositioning the second line to enter the garage, Bravo Charlie corner, to make a hit fire.
Okay, I'm clear. Command radio.
Come in, go ahead.
Alpha Division to command.
And the last unit, you broke up. Go ahead.
This is Alpha Division. We're going to need a bulk load off the truck to get to this.
Okay, I'm clear. Do you need another unit to stretch that for you?
10-4.
Okay. Great. Command Engine 23, that's going to be you. Let's assist Alpha, report to Alpha Division and stretch the bulk load off of Engine 13.
We're clear. Stretching a bulk load, reporting to Alpha. Charge the red line. Red line's getting charged. Engine 24, command with priority traffic.
Command Engine 24, go to your priority traffic.
Basement is clear. We have found one dog.
Okay, I'm clear. The basement is clear, and you have found one dog. Are you bringing them out the Alpha side?
That's negative. We're coming out the Charlie side.
Let's bring him around to Alpha to rescue group.
Engine 24 is clear. We're coming out the Alpha side. Truck 13, what's an update?
Command to Truck 13, go with your traffic.
Primary search is complete on the second floor. Nothing found. We're moving to the first floor.
Command's clear. Primary search complete on the second floor, and you move into the first.
24 to command. Status change.
Command to last unit with status change.
Engine 24. Status change. We got the dog out on the Alpha side. We're ready for another assignment.
Okay, I'm clear 24. Just recycle below deck. Alpha side.
Truck 13, command priority traffic.
Go ahead, Truck 13.
Located the residence, first floor, bedroom, D-side, D-double.
Do you advise you've located a victim?
That's correct. He's not aware of what's going on. Fine, there's limited smoke in his bedroom. Sheltering in place for the moment.
I'm clear. You've located a resident, and you're sheltering in place for the moment. Man to medical group, Rescue 24. You clear on that traffic? Be prepared to receive resident.
Rescue 24 is clear, ready to receive.
Commander radio, ain't a status on that ambulance in an ETA.
Metro advised the call is pending.
Yeah, so this is back in Cobb County, and there's a whole lot of moving parts in this whole incident. And though we're here to really talk about good news reporting, you can't talk about good news reporting without talking about all the reporting, kind of like I said. So the whole example here is the fire department, the entire agency training with and deploying with one system. So everybody's on the same page, everybody's trained together, they laid out expectations, good size up, command transfer. They use the system with priority traffic to identify things that aren't working or red flag things. They made the transmission of we have a permanent water supply, and some people would be like, well, why did they say that? Well, in this case, clearly they thought one company was getting the water supply. They assigned a second company to assist them with getting the water supply. So you clearly have a working fire. Companies are saying at this point they hadn't located the fire yet. So it was, 3 seconds on the radio of, hey, you got a permanent water supply, and now we're ready for another assignment, because that engine 18 was assisting to get the water supply. So they're ready to do something else. So they put it out there. Basically the assignment was complete, right? And then, a couple transmissions there of, charge the red line, several priority traffic pieces, status change from the truck company that was on the second floor doing a search, letting command know they're going to the first floor. I mean, those are all parts and pieces of the system, so that command is really in command, that they're doing real accountability, and they're going to check off now. I got a primary all clear of the second floor, so there's no reason for anybody to be back up there. So just a really good example of the system working and a lot of good communications throughout the whole thing. And on top of it, like we talk about, they find a victim. The victim didn't even know there was something going on in their building, and then they sheltered in place. So It's just another piece. Like, put the fire out, leave the people behind the doors, which is what they ended up doing here. They didn't pull them out. They didn't pull them back through the smoke or whatever. But I think there was 5 different times they said priority traffic, and all 5 of them were times that they needed to say priority traffic.
From a strategic perspective, this is the first time I've heard this. So if I'm the fire chief sitting at home, the dispatch comes out, it's a house fire with a reported victim. Very soon you hear somebody say, yeah, it's in a cul-de-sac, there's a hydrant here. So, okay, that's good. You know you got a water source. Initial radio report, you got 2 stories in a basement with a working fire somewhere coming out of the attic, showing in the attic area, right? So you think, okay, I got a fire probably on the 2nd floor. Maybe it's extended into the attic. As the thing goes on, they say, no, we think the fire's on the 1st floor. We've done a 360. And then you start, the IC1's doing their thing. IC2 gets there, does a transfer of command. You know where everybody's at and what they're doing. So from like our goals of completing the tactical priorities, first they come back with the basement's clear and we got a dog we're bringing out. So, okay, they found a dog in the basement. Now, maybe that's the victim, maybe that isn't, you know, is the sitting there wondering. Then you hear the 2nd floor is clear. Nothing up there. And you think, okay, little back and forth about the line's not reaching. We're going to do this. There's a little bit going on, some face-to-face with the division boss who's been assigned. So now I'm sitting at home thinking, wow, they're making good progress. They pulled a dog out. They're getting the water to the fire now. And then the report comes back with, we found a victim behind a closed door. We're not going to take them out because they're safer in here than us taking them where the products of combustion are. So in that, what did that whole thing take in real time? Probably 10, 12 minutes for all that to happen. And like Josh said, you had more than half a dozen priority traffics in there. Nobody was ever yelling and screaming. You knew where every company was all the time. It made sense as you kind of followed along in your mind. So, and if you are, in fact, the chief of that, you know where all those companies are, where those stations are, who should be on the scene, who should be running it, and the radio traffic matches reality. And what it says is we all are under control and doing the most the urgent work first, and then coming back down into, we're de-escalating hazards, essentially, until they get an all clear and the fire knocked down. And you think, okay, that's perfect. That's yeah. And it's not perfect. It's never going to be. It's not supposed to be. You think, well, you missed this here. You missed. No, I knew everything going on all the time. I knew what the strategy was, and I knew the progress they were making. That's the way. The incident action plan goes over the radio. We don't write it down. The IC's tracking on a sheet to keep accountability in their mind. But the incident action plan is taking place in real time, and it's verbal. That's the difference between IDLH hazard zone and incident where you got 12-hour work cycles. It's just so it matches the hazards we're facing and the goals of what our work is. That's really kind of why Blue Card's here today, is because that's where the proof of the pudding is in the radio traffic. The radio traffic don't lie. So
I think the training, right? That you have to stick with it and you have to train, because everybody who was on the radio, like Nick said, nobody was yelling, nobody was amped up. Everybody understood the incident action plan. Everybody was working within a system. They all probably knew what everybody else's next transmission was likely going to be, because they all worked in the same system. And then there wasn't a lot of jibber jabber on the radio, because they train in a way that words mean something. So when you say priority traffic, that causes everybody's head to snap around a little bit. Like, what are they about to say? And then you can be very direct and to the point with just a couple of words of what is the problem and what do you need to solve the problem. And then all the rest of those transmissions, just to circle back around on it of, charge to hand line. We got a permanent water supply. We've the EMS unit updating that we're now on the alpha side. So, I mean, somebody could interpret all that as good news reporting, but it all impacts in a positive way the incident action plan. So, I mean, I think the takeaway here is that say what you got to say and what you need to say, as long as it's impacting the incident action plan.
All right, here we go. Timeless tactical truth. Today, we want Josh and Nick to chime in on this one. Use staging assignment by the incident commander and accountability SOPs to get firefighters into the standard work cycle. Staging assignment by the IC and accountability SOPs to get firefighters into the standard work cycle. Bruno had a quote that if you don't have staging, you don't have an incident command system. And there are still a lot of departments out there that either auto deploy or have some kind of way that they get into the game without getting an actual assignment from anybody. And that really goes along with some tracking as well, right?
Mm-hmm. There's three ways to deploy. Assignment by the IC, SOP, and freelancing. The only one that is based on the current critical factors is assignment by the IC. So SOP-based deployment is great for covering all the sides of a building, but it ignores the fire. So in this case, we just listened to a 3-level house where they thought the fire was in the attic, and it ended up being on the first floor. So if you're doing the SOP for an attic fire, that's not going to work at this particular incident. You're going to waste resources going to a place where the fire isn't. And you're going to ignore where the fire is, which it jacks your firefighter safety and survival equation too far out of balance. So assignment by the IC. Well, to be assigned by the IC, everybody's got a stage. The officer or the first arriving unit becomes the IC, so they get to assign everybody else behind them. Well, in most cases, over half the structure fires in North America are put out with one attack line and less than 300 gallons of water. Who knows the best of where the second company should be assigned? The SOP or the IC, the mobile IC who's currently managing the incident action plan? The IC. That's why we hire people to be ICs, and we don't have an SOP put the fire out. It just doesn't. That's who. Yeah, that's incident command. So that's why we do assignment by the IC. And now you can use SOPs, and we do. We rely on SOPs, but not to assign the incident operation. We use staging and allow the IC to assign those individuals.
Got anything on that, Josh?
I think he's got it.
All right. Well, guys, it's been a great discussion today. I think that was great audio that we heard from Cobb County to give some examples of information that maybe some people would call good news reporting, and then kind of following it up with some really nice work there with their communication process. If anybody out there has audio you'd like to submit and show us some other examples, our information is in the show notes, and we'd love to get that audio from you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to B Shifter. We'll talk to you soon.
Woo-hoo.